Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the LilyGrace Lifestyle Podcast. Today's guest is Katy, and I have her on today to talk about her business and all about her journey throughout her life. So, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Absolutely. Yeah, me too. So, one question that I always start with is what defines your lifestyle?
Yeah, this is a tough question for me to answer. I feel like the best way for me to put it is free flowing. And I don't know if that is exactly what you're looking for, but I think that it kind of defines how I tend to move throughout life. And it's definitely not a linear path by any means. So I'm very much by nature a feeler, an empath, someone who tends to follow what feels best for her. So that's kind of brought me on a whirlwind of a journey thus far, but it definitely is something I'm not as, I would say, as structured in the way that I live. I think that's kind of how I would put it. Yeah.
I kind of love that because I feel like I'm the opposite. I am very structured, but I look up to those people who can seriously live and just like you said, free flowing. I think that's an amazing quality to have. So that's incredible. Love that. So do you want to talk to us about your background? Give us your little introduction if people don't know you.
Sure. Yeah, so where to start? Well, right now, currently, I'm the owner of Studio One Cycle, which is an indoor cycling company that I started. I launched January 1st of 2021, and we teach live classes online due to the circumstances with COVID. So everything is virtual at the moment, and that stemmed from a career in the fitness industry that I've been a part of for the last 5 or so years. So most of my adult life, and before that, though, I was always an athlete growing up, and so that's always been in my blood, movement, activity. But I was always targeted. Soccer was my thing. So soccer
Nice.
was my sport. I've dabbled in other sports. Basketball was a thing too, but soccer was always my thing that I loved the most. So that was kind of my whole identity as a kid, was being a soccer player, but being a good one. And so that was kind of where I thrived. I felt most comfortable on the field with teammates in the leadership role and all that stuff, working together and impacting each other in a really profound way. But just growing up as an athlete and that being a main part of my life, I did end up going to college, and I went to school for athletic training in Maine, at the University of New England. And I was able to play soccer there. And that was kind of my whole purpose. It's just like, I just want to play soccer. Where can I do that?
Love it.
And yeah, very simple, very simple minded at that time. And so soccer, it happened. And then you live your whole life playing that from when you're 5 till when you graduate college. And after college, I was kind of at like this crossroads of like, wait, who am I now that I don't play soccer anymore? Like, what am I doing? So of course I went to school for and got my degree for athletic training. But there was definitely throughout that time a shift in my mindset or my path and what felt like it was right for me. And athletic training was something that I really value in what I learned, but it wasn't necessarily a career choice for me. So that changed over time, and I had plans of going to PT school after that. And so um, that also shifted, and I didn't feel like that was the right thing for me. And so, you add, I just really tried to listen to the fact that I wasn't overly enthused about it, although it would sound really nice to get my doctorate in physical therapy. I just didn't think it was for me. So I decided to backtrack on that. So I graduated and I decided to move across country. My sister was living in Seattle at the time. And so
Wow.
I yeah, really the only thing I knew, I felt very uncomfortable here at home. I felt like I was missing something. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't really pinpoint it, but I just needed to get away, if that's the best way to put it. So I really needed to get out of Maine, and I had this pull and this desire. So I took a leap of faith and, met my sister on the West Coast and lived in Seattle for a couple of years, really without a plan. I was just like, you know what, I'll get a job. I've worked in cafes and, smoothie bars and all of that. I'll just get a job and then figure it out. So I moved out there. Time passes. I'm kind of just, my first time on my feet outside of college, a little confused or a lot confused. um, And, you know, I didn't really have a direction. And so I was just kind of lost. So that ended up, and I ended up coming back home essentially. So I moved to Seattle for a couple of years, and then I moved back home to Southern Maine, where I'm from. At that point, I was again looking for what felt like made sense, what felt right to me, and I wanted a job in the wellness space, and I wasn't sure what that was, but I knew I needed more of that in my life because I had definitely felt a little detached and disconnected from who I was and my body, and I wasn't super happy. I was pretty depressed at the time, to be truthful. And so I was like, you know what? I just want a job in that sort of wellness realm, whatever that is, because that's what I went to school for. And I was like, let me just get a job at, I tried to get a job at a local fitness studio here in the area. And so that was the beginning of, it's almost like the second half of my life, even though it's only been the last like 5 or so years. But it's like pre that job and then post that job. So I got a job at a local studio as just a manager, and it was group fitness there. They had various different classes, but they had cycling classes there. And I, as a person, am someone who very much when I go to the gym, I want to hide in the back, or I want to put my hood on and my headphones in, and I just want to like get in, get out,
Yep.
lift some weights, waste a lot of time, not doing, not as productive as I should, but just to do it. And I never ever went to group fitness classes. That was something that I totally was like, no way. Like I just want to be in the back. Like I want to be
Yeah.
hidden. I want to be in a room full of people. That's just not my jam. And so it wasn't until I started working at a place that had group fitness that I really opened my eyes to the possibilities of what that even was, first of all. And then this idea around like boutique fitness
Hmm.
was just starting to blossom around here in this area. So anyway, they had the cycling classes, and everyone was talking about it, and I was like, what is this? Like I still didn't want to do it. I was just a manager. Like I was working, behind the desk and cleaning and all that stuff, but I didn't really want to get in there. And then I finally did, and I took my first class, and it's like a moment for me that I'll never forget, because there was something so palpable and so different about that experience. And it's really hard to describe what it felt like unless you do it. And so
Mhm.
that's kind of my MO around like just obviously creating my current business. But that moment, that first class when I got in there, and I was super intimidated, obviously, and it was dark and it was loud, and there was this energy to the room that I couldn't explain. And I was doing everything wrong. Like getting on the bike was hard, like clicking into the bike was hard enough. I didn't do anything right, but I did know that I was feeling something other than just getting a good workout in or counting my calories. There was this energy. And so I was exhausted, obviously, after class. But when I walked out, I was just like, what was that? Like, what just happened for the last 50 minutes? It's almost like I blacked out, but I remember everything at the same time. So I was hooked because at that point in my life, I was very much not, I was nowhere near like, I wasn't as active as I wanted to be. And for me and my nature, I need to be active to really
Mhm.
feel good. So
Mhm.
that's also another reason why this profession works for me, personally. And so I was, feeling pretty down and not really great about myself at the time. But when I took that class, it was like this spark, this fire lit inside. And I was like, whoa, this is something. I was like telling myself, okay, here's your new thing. Since you're not playing soccer anymore on a
Yeah.
legit team, here's your thing. You're going to love this. So um, I was hooked, and I think my competitive mentality came out a little bit, and I was obsessed with it. And then I had the opportunity through my mentor at the time, who kind of pushed me to trying to instruct. And that was wild because I never saw myself being an instructor. So again, I wanted to hide. I didn't want anyone to see me. I did not want to get on a stage with lights, with a microphone. That. So that's kind of how things started. And then I ended up going to training, even though I tried to not go and tried to avoid it. I was definitely fighting it. I missed the first week of training and I didn't show up. I was like, no way, it's not for me. And so I was convinced to try it. And then from then on, it was just like this flip switched on in my brain and my soul, everything turned on. I was like, wow, this is something I love. And I felt crazy saying it because I felt like saying that being a fitness instructor or a cycling instructor was something I wanted to do forever. It felt
Mhm.
really weird saying that, but I knew that it was true at the time. I was like, this is something I'm meant to do. I'm meant to do this. And I had no idea. And it wasn't until someone pushed me to try, right? So I never saw that coming. Um, and then, time progresses, things went really well there, and I had my own experience, but there was a time when I needed to leave, and I think a lot of things shifted amongst the culture, amongst my own personal feelings to the place, and needing a shift. Again, coming back to my feelings on something isn't right here.
Mhm.
Although I love this job so much, it's not worth how I feel when I leave after class, or it's just that it came down to the 50 minutes of class is what was keeping me there, but
Mm.
everything else beyond the 50 minutes, I was like, something's not right. I'm not truly happy right now. So I had to step away, which was at the time in my life the hardest decision I'd ever done, because I was so deeply in love with this job and the people and the service of it. And I had really just learned so much about myself in such a short period of time, because it just exposed this whole new side of me and this whole new version. So anyway, at my chapter closed there at that studio, and then again I was like, I can't be here anymore. So I decided to move away again, per usual. You'll notice a trend. To move away, and I moved to Nashville with intent on teaching at a studio down there, getting into the management role to really learn the ins and outs, because I knew the day I walked away from the first studio that I wanted to open my own. But at that time, years ago, I had no idea what to do with that idea. I definitely didn't have the confidence to do it at the time, or the resources, or the training, to be frank with you. So I felt like the timing obviously wasn't right, but the seed had been planted, like that moment that I
Mm.
left. I know that I want to do this, and I love small community, and I love creating community. And I know that that's something for me, but I was so just like emotionally out of whack at that point in my life. I couldn't fathom taking on being a business owner. So I decided to go out and kind of do some research, but not even intently really. I was more so just I was trying to build skills and become a better instructor and learn as much as I possibly could so I could do it on my own someday. Um, and it was just this little faint kind of thought deep down in there that I knew I wanted, but throughout life you get distracted, or you get pulled in different directions, and you're like, no, but this feels right now, this feels right now, or no, this feels right now. And then you finally have a moment where you come back to that thought, like, oh yeah, I wanted to do that. I wanted to open my own studio. That's right. And here's why I made all these choices. And so anyway, back to Nashville, I moved down there and had got it again without a plan. I was just like, I'll get a job at a restaurant, figure it out. So I was doing that for a while, and realized that wasn't what I wanted to do. And that was really painful for me, because I just wanted to teach. And so there is an amazing studio down there, and I have to shout them out in any place that I can, because I look up to them and I love everything that they're about. And they were my home when I was there, and it's full ride cycling. So for anyone who is ever in Nashville, they are the place to be. Shauna and Kenzie and their amazing instructors are just awesome. So anywho, I was there, and I decided that I really just wanted to teach, and things weren't moving in that direction as quickly as I wanted. So I was again getting quite impatient. And so I decided to look online at Soul Cycle's website, which is, if you don't know, Soul Cycle is basically this big corporate company, and they were the pioneers of indoor cycling, and they started this whole monster, and way back in 2005. And so they happened to have auditions. From the day I looked, they had auditions 2 weeks away in Atlanta, which was a 4-hour drive away from me. And I was like, okay. At that moment, I was like, okay, my heart just fell like into my stomach, like everything. I got so nervous and anxious all in that moment, but so excited in that moment too,